What's good, YouTube? It's Adam from I'm a Music Mogul. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to go ahead and remake from scratch Clipse Kendrick Lamar's Chains and Whips. The tempo for this one is 96 beats per minute, and the track is produced by Pharrell Williams. So for this one, we're going to start off with that sample that is used in the track. Before we bring in that sample, we're going to change our tempo mode over to automatic mode. This way, when we bring in the sample, it'll be easy for us to chop it up. So the sample used in this track is Cherry Wainer and Don Storer Take 5. I'm just gonna go ahead and bring it in here. Logical analyze and do its thing. Detect a tempo. We'll go ahead and chop up the sample in a moment. But first, let's go ahead and just select flex mode here and make sure that flex mode is turned on here. This way, when we change the tempo, the sample will automatically stretch to that new tempo. So speaking of that new tempo, we're gonna click here and we're gonna go ahead, go to tempo sets, create a new set, and we'll type in 96 beats per minute for the Chains and Whips tempo. All right, so let's kick things off by working in that guitar. I'm pretty sure Lenny Kravitz recorded this guitar, so let's go and bring it in. Now, I couldn't find a sample or sound that sounded similar in Logic, so I'm gonna go over to my Let God Sort 'Em Out drum kit, go to the Chains and Whips folder. I'm gonna bring in that lead guitar sound. And I'm gonna bring in that one shot into a quick sampler. And what we're gonna do here is just draw in that pattern. I'm gonna stretch this out. All right, stretch all those notes out. Next, let's go ahead and put on some reverb just to really fill that out. So we're gonna go Control Command P and we'll bring in Logic's Chroma Verb. We'll use a default setting that loads up. We'll just pull up to decay to make it a little larger. All right, next, let's bring in that bass guitar. So for that sound, we're gonna go ahead and create a new software instrument track. We'll go over to our library browser. We'll go over to Legacy, Logic. We'll go over to Bass. We'll go to Electric Bass, and we'll go over to the Liverpool Bass preset. Let's go ahead and draw on that pattern and then get to some sound design. All right, so we're gonna take that pattern and we're just gonna duplicate over 4 bars here. All right, and then what we're gonna do here is make sure that is 4 bars. And then we'll go ahead and stretch this out by Shift/key. Bass, we have to make it a little bit more grittier sounding, a little bit fuller sounding. So we're gonna go ahead and bring in some amps just to give that tone and sound that we need. For the first one that we're gonna bring in, we'll go to Amps Bass Amp Designer. We're gonna bring in a preset to start off with. We're gonna bring in the, let's see which one we're gonna bring in here. The DI and Crunch preset. All right, so you're getting that crunch that we need. And then we're gonna go ahead and bring in another bass amp. And we're gonna bring in a different tone here. We're gonna go to the Modern Dynamic. All right, so it's getting a fuller sound here. And then we're gonna bring in one more distortion amp. So for that, we'll go over to Amps and Pedals, Amp Designer, Stereo. And we're gonna go ahead and bring in a preset here found under, I think it's under Distorted. Yeah, the Pawn Shop Distort. Now, of course, that is way too distorted, but we're gonna bring in EQ and just filter out all of that distortion out just to give us that tone that we need. We'll take out some of the top end. the lows a bit. And then let's go ahead and bring in that kick. So I'm just gonna push this over as far as the arrangement goes. It goes something like this. All right, of course, the kick comes into play here. So let's go back to our change in width drum kit. Link will be down below if you are interested in the sounds from Let God Sort 'Em Out album. And then we're gonna bring in that kick. So here's the kick. We're gonna bring it into a drum machine designer this time. And let's go ahead and draw in that pattern. All right, that pattern just pretty much duplicates itself over the 4 bars. So we're just going to duplicate that over. And then what Pharrell did here is the kick is not happening on the ones. It's sort of pushed a little bit behind the bass. So what we're going to do is select all of our bass notes, and we're just going to nudge it back ever so slightly. So it's just off the grid a little bit. So that is section A of the track. Next, let's get to section B. What we're going to do is copy over the same guitar pattern. We're going to copy over the kicks. And what we're going to do is copy over this bass pattern as well, but it is going to switch up ever so slightly. So let's start with that. All right, so what changes here is these top notes come out. Both of the top notes come out actually, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring this all the way down. And it just kind of plays out like that. Just for one set of 4 bars. Next, we'll bring in some more drums, and then we'll get to some sample chopping. So back to our drum kit over here, we're gonna go to the snare and the crash. We'll go to the snare and the crash, and we'll bring that into our drum machine designer. Let's go ahead and start off with our open hat / crash sound. And next, the snare. Now let's get to that sample, and we got to find out where Pharrell chopped up that sample. And because I've done this before, I know exactly where to go. So we're going to go to about this point right here. I'm just going to play it so you hear what it sounds like. So you see this, we'll go for about a couple bars here. All we really need is that first section. So what we're going to do here is just chop it up over here, and we'll chop it up over here, right? Just like that. And we're going to go ahead, just duplicate that track, bring it down just so we have a copy of it. And then we're going to bring it back into our beat. So let's go ahead and bring this back. And all we're going to do here is just cut this in half here. So it's going to sound like this. So we'll just pull this back. All right, and that just duplicates itself. Except what we want to do with this sample is just extract just the organ part and the drum part. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to stretch out this first sample to the full bar. I'm going to control click and go to stem splitter. I'm going to separate just the drums and the other portion of it. So let's go ahead and separate that. So now we get the drums. All right, so we get the drums and the organ part separated. So what I'm going to do here is just, I'm going to increase the volume on this a little bit, maybe increase the volume on this a little bit as well. And let's go ahead and bring this out of this group. We don't need it to be in a group, and it's going to sound like this. Let's just cut back this to halfway point and copy this over, copy this over, copy this over, and we'll mute this track. So we get this now. Copy over the drums. more chop from that sample to bring in that chord hit. So for that secondary chord hit sample, we got to go all the way to bar 71. So I'm going to pull it a little bit back so we can hear what's happening. Oh, let's go back here. My loop was on. All right, so we just need those 2 bars. So let's go and chop that up. So I'm going to chop it up right over here and right over here. And once again, I'm just going to duplicate it onto another track so we have it as its own copy. And I'm just going to take this sample and drag it straight into a quick sampler optimized. And we're going to find that chord stab that we need for this section. So here is the quick sampler over here. I'm going to go over to slice. We're going to change the mode over to manual. And we're going to just put a gate on so that it only lasts as long as I hold down the note. I'm going to bring up my virtual keyboard here, and we're just going to just find where we need to go here. We just need that chord stab right there. All right, so let's go ahead and step in that pattern. So what we're going to do here is just going to take a little bit of the low end out, and we're going to boost the top end. All right, so now we get this. Next, let's go over to section C, and we're going to get a new chop for that chord hit. So let's go ahead and just copy over our guitar pattern. We'll copy over our bass guitar. So this pattern that goes doo-doo, doo-doo, that kind of pattern. And then we're going to go ahead and copy over the kick, and we'll copy over the snare. And what we're going to do over here, I'm just going to bring it over here. So for this secondary sample over here, let's just copy over it all the way here. I'm going to extract the drums from here. So let's go solo this out. We'll go control click, we'll go stem splitter, and I only want the drums. All right, so it's going to give us that break beat vibe that we hear in the track. And so I only want the second half of that. And right before this last snare hit, we're going to take that out. So it's going to get a little stop before the next pattern. Let's go ahead and just make that a little louder. And I'm going to just increase the volume just on the hats alone. So it stops right before the next bar. So it's a little chop over there. Let's copy this over and copy this over. So together the drums sound like this. And then we're going to get that secondary sample chop. So we are going to be using the same original sample here. So what we're going to do is take that once again, drag that into a quick sampler optimized, except we're going to manipulate this or slice it a little differently. So what we're going to do here is go over to slice mode. And this is just going to chop by transients, and we'll leave that as is for now. We'll change it over to gate mode once again. And we got to go ahead and find the sample that we need here. So it's those two samples right there. So this one and then the down one. All right, let's go ahead and step in that pattern. And that's just going to duplicate itself over and over. Just got to make sure it's on the right. There it is right there. All right, so it's a little bit choppy, but we'll fix that right now. So the first thing that we're gonna do is just take some of the lows out and boost the highs. And then we'll bring in some chorus just to soften it up. And then we'll bring in some reverb just to fill it out so it's not so choppy. So we'll go Control Command P and we'll go to Logic's Chroma Verb. And all we're going to do really is just pull down the wetness level here. All right, and together. All right, so those are the 3 sections in the beat. Next comes in the mixing and arrangement. So let's get to that session. So right over here is the final arrangement of the track. I just want to show a couple things that I've added here that we didn't do in the breakdown. So first things first, we get this vocal chop right here. Then over here we get the "this is culturally inappropriate" tag.
This is culturally inappropriate.
And then I sampled one other sound from the track. It is like these live horn sound that I couldn't quite recreate in Logic with the sounds that it has. So I just sampled it from the track and it sounds like this. And it happens sporadically throughout the track. So it goes like this. And then there's one switch up with the guitar on one section or a couple sections in the arrangement. We're using the same Lenny Kravitz guitar sound, except the sample is a lot softer than the original one with some reverb and EQ. And that's for this breakdown section here. Just kind of soften in the background. So that right there is Clipse and Kendrick Lamar's Chains and Whips. Let's go ahead and take a listen to how everything sounds together.
Inappropriate.
this Clipse and Kendrick Lamar's Chains and Whips remade in Logic Pro. For Logic Pro users out there, I'm gonna go ahead and save this entire session for you, place it as a download link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. Lyrics with all the MIDI stamps, audio stamps, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback down below the like button as well. If you have any questions on this or just want to chat or have any suggestions for future videos, let's go chat down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.